Hi guys, the last video uploaded to this channel was July 2021. In that video we talked about how inflation is going to be a big problem in the UK, Europe, across the West. Central banks have printed too much money, interest rates have been too low for too long, and as inflation starts to grow, it's going to be a big problem because they're in a position that the central banks aren't going to be able to raise interest rates to the level to arrest rising inflation. We are now March 2022. It's been about 8 months since I uploaded that last video, and I want to just touch on what's happening in the world and how we are still pretty much on target for inflation, civil unrest. If anything, this has been accelerated by the current and ongoing and presumably future geopolitical situations. The sanctions which have been rolled out against Russia seem to be blowing back. Commodities, energy is going to be an increasing problem. This is something we've known about for a while, but it's obviously become very apparent now that the Western Europe's reliance on not so much the UK, but as the rest of Western Europe scrambles to get energy from elsewhere, it's just going to push up prices for everybody. So this in itself is going to add quite a lot to inflation. Liz Truss come out warning of economic hardship for the UK, obviously as there starts becoming more shortages or less supply of energy, less supply of food, wheat, etc. from Russia and Ukraine. This is going to put hardship on the UK. Liz Truss was warning about this. One of the things I mentioned in the last video is as inflation rises, we're going to see civil unrest. That is just something that is unavoidable at this point. I don't believe there's anything the UK government can do at this point to stop that civil unrest coming. But as Liz Truss warns about this, I mean, she's saying prepare for economic hardship in the UK. I mean, it's quite apparent. Pretty much when you put sanctions on another country, you don't have jurisdiction in that country, right? The UK, America has no jurisdiction inside the Russian borders. So when they put sanctions on, effectively the sanctions are on the citizens of the UK, of Europe, of America. So when they say, Russia can't export its oil, what they're essentially saying is citizens of the UK, Europe, America cannot buy oil from Russia. You can't place sanctions, there's no jurisdiction. So the sanctions effectively are, we're not going to buy your energy, we're not going to buy your food. So the punishment really is on the citizens of Europe, right? Russia's got quite a big war chest, and they, have quite close ties with China, who I'm sure will support the ruble, will support Russian bonds. They got quite a big war chest. So when we talk about these sanctions, really, as Liz Truss rightly points out, this is going to be painful for the UK. Energy production is obviously very poor in Europe. We rely on electro windmills. We rely on solar panels, which, I mean, it's a reasonable day today in the UK, but it's not California. It's not a desert. Solar panels don't really work. Electro windmills, sometimes they're okay. If it's too windy, they don't work. If it's not windy enough, they don't work. So we have a huge energy production problem in Europe. We're closing down nuclear power stations. So energy is going to become a big problem. All this is feeding in to the civil unrest problem that we're facing. On top of this, America as well as Europe have basically said, if you're a nation, a state that's not explicitly pro-West, decouple from the dollar, decouple from the euro, the Western banking system, because we're going to come after you. We saw this in Canada, the closing of bank accounts, current accounts for people that don't have their values directly aligned with the Canadian government. We're starting to see the West, I mean, America's been doing this for a while, but the problem is now there are more alternatives. China's becoming increasingly powerful, obviously, it's on its way to be the next superpower. Russia is a lot more capable than it used to be. These nations don't really need to rely on the dollar, the petrodollar anymore. There are alternatives. There's cryptos. You can just start trading in yuan. They can just start trading in rubles. Russia can just turn around to the West and say, okay, if you want our oil, we're going to need physical gold. They can. It's their oil at the end of the day. It's their energy. They can demand whatever they want for it. Okay, if you want it badly enough, you will have to pay them that gold, right? In physical delivery, if that's what they really demand and we really want it. So the problem is that this decoupling from the fiat system, that is just going to accelerate the demise of fiat money. And it's probably not going to happen overnight, but it's something long term to start considering. So from that video back in July, a lot of things have like accelerated the collapse, have accelerated how soon civil unrest will likely to be coming to the UK. Another thing to think about is Russia and especially China, they're playing a long game. They don't necessarily need an overnight victory. They're looking at the 25, 50, 100 year time frame. One of the things I thought was quite interesting, I really try not to watch the news too much about Ukraine, but it's pretty much unavoidable. It's 24/7 on TV. It's every, even vaguely news related website is just Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. I try not to follow it because probably so much of it is just myths, truths, misinformation, propaganda. Very little of it is real. But when there were reports coming out, basically, I think it was day 4 of the invasion, just to highlight how short-term Western timeframes are. This was like day 4 of the invasion, and they were saying, well, the Russian tanks have taken huge ground, but now they're stopped. They've stopped, and that means Ukraine's going to win. How short-sighted is that? These obvious armchair generals, not that I profess to have that much insight into, especially the higher ups of the military, senior officer, general level. But just because their tanks stop on day 4, presumably to refuel, to reorg, to just get a sense of where they are, to hold the ground they've already taken. But the Western thing is, shock and awe. You need to take a country in 6 days, otherwise you're nothing. China and Russia, they're playing the long game. They can draw wars out for long periods of time and not really be that fussed, because the Western time frame is we need everything done yesterday, and you get huge disasters like the Afghan withdrawal because everything's just pushed through. Everything's like, okay, how does this look in the media? We need to get everything done in a week. No, Russia and especially China, they're playing the long game, so they don't need a victory overnight. They can pull back from Ukraine and then push back forward. They're playing a very long game, and I think that's something that we really don't understand in the West. Everything in the West is very, very short-term time frames. It's one election cycle. It's, what's tomorrow's newspaper going to say? It's very, very short. And that's something we really should get a grip of, because you start understanding a bit more of the game theory of how Russia and China are playing things. I think it's quite interesting. There's a big difference in mentality between Europeans and Russians and Chinese. They're thinking a lot more into the future. So what will the trigger be of civil unrest? The historical precedent of recent modern history in the UK is it could be a winter of discontent. So that could be possibly going into next winter, December 2022, the tail end of this year we're currently in. January, February 2023. It could be a winter of discontent. There is precedent for that in the UK, especially energy prices will be rising. We're going into spring now, so we're less dependent on natural gas energy. People are turning off their boilers. We're not heating our homes anywhere near the amount. So we've got a temporary little buffer. Energy prices will still be a big problem, of course, for everybody. But as we go into next winter, we could be facing a winter of discontent. The other modern historical precedent we have in the UK is summer riots. This is something we've come to know now. So, in the warm weather, people are bored. They don't have much money because inflation is becoming a big problem. They see themselves as victims. We could see a summer riots. So it's probably the modern historical precedent would suggest one of those two, either a winter of discontent, people just, like we see, like the last winter of discontent, or summer riots. Either of those could be a trigger. So I think going into winter, or winter time in general, could be a trigger, and long periods of summertime when people are out and they're bored and they just want to smash stuff up. Or it could just be there's many other triggers as well. But modern history would suggest you want to watch out for summer riots or winter of discontent. and who knows what year, it could be tail end of this year, it could be 2023. They might be able to patch this situation up and bumble things through and buy another 2, 3, 5 years. It's silly to try and pinpoint when the exact, civil unrest, collapse, etc. will occur. It doesn't matter. The point is, you've still got time to get ready, to start preparing physically, and very important, mentally. Because if anything, I think the last 2.5 years have shown is, I mean, some people are just broken. I go out and about, and I'm doing a degree as a mature student. I walk around the university campus. Some people are just physically broken, mentally. They're gone. They're not coming back. I mean, they can still function as a human being, but the last 2 years have just broken them. And the last 2 years, frankly, was just a walk in the park to what is coming ahead of us. It's going to be much, much harder. So you want to be physically strong. You want to be mentally strong. And I'm covering a lot of this on my other channels. That's called 51 North. Link below if you want to head over to there, because I'm just trying to put all my efforts into, at the moment, showing people how, especially being mentally prepared, because some people are just going to be broken by what's ahead of us. So thanks for watching this video, guys. Just a little bit of an update. What's happened in the last 8 months. Everything that's happened in the last 8 months essentially have just accelerated the forecast predictions that we made back in July. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one, guys. As always, good luck and Godspeed, and I'll see you in the next video.